Welcome back to the channel. Ice fishing season is not here yet and it's absolutely killing me. But what I did last year was, this is my Eskimo quick flip one. And it's just basically a poly sled with like a quick flip over the top. I made a video on how I modified this. And I'll leave the link for that below or in the description somewhere here. But basically I've gone through so many boat ramps and over fences and stuff that I've worn out the corners, and I thought fiberglass was a good idea to patch those corners. But Precision Angling up in Maine released a video right after I did my fiberglass one of how to use a Harbor Freight or Chicago Electric welding, plastic welding kit. And I'll leave the link for that below. And I'll also find an Amazon equivalent if you don't have like a Harbor Freight around you. It's basically just a soldering iron with plastic on the inside of it. So what I'm gonna do is, the fiberglass didn't work. It lasted like one boat launch with pavement on it, and the fiberglass was gone, which I didn't think about for some reason. So Precision Angling released a video on how to do this. You can go watch his. I'll leave his description for his video below and his channel below. And I plan on fishing with him this winter, depending on like travel restrictions and all that jazz. So I'm gonna try to figure this out myself. I'm gonna show you guys how to weld one of the corners real quick, and then I'm gonna obviously gonna remove all the fiberglass first, and then I'm gonna weld the corners as well. So I won't drag you through all the corners, but I'll show you how to use one of these once I figure it out myself. So I had really fiberglass this up, so I have to really unfiberglass it. So I'm just gonna remove the fiberglass from this side, I guess, first. And I bought these poly runners off Amazon. Even if you don't have holes in your sled and you wanna just tow on just general ice or general snow, it makes it a lot easier to pull. It actually just rides on these surfaces, and then you don't wear out your sled on boat launches and stuff because you can just replace these. I'll leave the link for those below. They're super easy. I think they're like 50 bucks to install. All you gotta do is buy the right length for your sled, and they're freaking awesome. I don't know why I didn't do that before. Oh, and I'm also going to install a pull bar kit for this, which is made by Clam. I'll leave a link for that below, so I can pull this behind my snow dog. I might have to make some modifications for it. It might be too long, but I'll put that up right here. Hopefully you guys can see down there, but I put a wire patch down there. I have a big hole in the bottom of the front of my sled, where I actually, or the back of my sled where I pull it. And I put the patch down there with a little bit of the glue stick material, or the basically polyplastic. And I'm just using the iron to stick it in there, and then I'm gonna fill up the back side of it, the outside of it, with more black plastic. So see how I'm just like kind of sticking that in there, and I'm melting. Just like normal welding, you want to heat up both pieces, but not to put too much heat into it. And I don't think you can hurt the weld with plastic by pulling it off too fast. This thing is so cheap and getting so hot that it's actually bending the mandrel or the soldering tip, which is not good. All right, I'm gonna keep at it. And what I've kind of learned is drag it across. You wanna start melting it, and then drag it across where you want it to melt into. Kind of like actual welding. And that leaves a nice little spot there. And I've also learned, if it's getting too hot, walk away from it, because you can't really return back to it. It just mushes underneath itself. But I have a pretty big hole right here, or I did. So I kind of figured out, after an hour or so here, I kind of figured out technique. So rolled side down. My iron is very bent, but I'm afraid of bending it back because it'll break. Start heating up your existing plastic, the non-welding stick, and basically get that to meld together, right? And then just kind of wiggle it, or do, you know, small little patterns with the glue stick under, kind of underneath it, kind of not underneath it. But you got to keep it moving. And then the same with finishing. You want to make sure that it grabs, melts into the existing plastic, otherwise it won't stick. And then kind of like smear it off. So I'm doing one side, letting it cool, doing the other side, letting it cool. So I know that doesn't look beautiful, but it doesn't need to be. It's at the bottom of the sled, and the fish don't care. I don't care. I could buy a whole new sled, but it's probably about 300 bucks to buy a new setup like this. And I'm gonna get one more season out of it, and then I'm gonna upgrade. I'm also gonna get a pop-up shanty. So I'll leave a link for this below. I would suggest getting a better one because this is already bending and breaking. But I'm gonna take down the other one I had for this with the fiberglass, because obviously it didn't work. It might work if you're just pulling on snow, but if you pull down any sort of boat launch like that that has dirt or anything like that, it just wears right off immediately. So that's it. Make sure you guys give a thumbs up, comment below, and like that video. Hit that little bell notification. You'll get next week's video and all the ones coming forward.